Hello everyone, welcome back to the Human Reviews channel. Today we are listening to Highway 61 Revisited by Bob Dylan. This album is an absolute classic, okay? Fantano has this album as a 10. Brad Taste recently gave this album a 10. So my interest in listening to this album is at the highest it's probably ever going to be. I have heard two songs on this album. I've heard Like a Rolling Stone and the title track Highway 61 Revisited, which I've been sending on stream. And I think both of those songs are fantastic. I think they are incredible. I think that both of them are some of the most memorable, enjoyable 60s songs I have ever heard. So, I'm very excited going into this because I imagine I'm going to enjoy this album quite a bit. This album came out in 1965. It is 9 songs, 51 minutes. 9 songs and 51 minutes. That is insane. Oh, well, Desolation Row is like 11 minutes long, so that is probably a big part of it. Quick reminder, because I always forget to say this at the start of my videos, we film these reactions live over on this channel. We film them on this channel. So, yeah, make sure if you see that I'm live recording a video, come stop in. I interact with the chat and stuff. I listen to people's thoughts on the album. I even include some people's chats in the videos and stuff if they have a particularly interesting insight or something like that. So make sure you come over whenever we're live doing these reactions with the chat. With that being said, I am just going to get straight into this. Track 1, Like a Rolling Stone.
People call, say beware doll, you're bound to fall. You thought they were all kidding you. How does it feel? How does it feel?
Yeah, this song is absolutely iconic. Just this instrumental is gorgeous. That riff is fantastic. Some of the weird synthetic electronic sounds going in the right channel are perfect. They all add to build this really intense but very enjoyable atmosphere that I think is the perfect way to start this album off. Oh yeah, the harmonica comes in, I forgot about that.
Juiced in it. Nobody's ever taught you how to live out on the street. Good deal.
Oh my god.
How does it feel?
The other biggest factor into why this song is so incredible is just how amazing of a vocalist Bob Dylan is. He is one of the most captivating, likable, talented vocalists from the 60s. Hands down. His voice is absolutely amazing.
For you. He used to ride on a chrome horse with from you everything he could steal.
Oh, the way it
How does
builds
it
is
feel?
amazing. A remix would be brutal, yeah. Even the fade out. I always moan about fade outs, but this fade out works. I always complain about fade outs because I think they suck. But that fade out is genuinely fantastic. Yeah, that song is a 10. I've heard it before many times. And, every time I listen to it, I'm just blown away by how well that song captures the sound of the 60s. In a way that doesn't feel like it's trapped in that era. It's sort of like a celebration of the sound at that time. And it's absolutely incredible. It just does such a good job at at capturing the very specific tone and feeling you get from 60s music in the best way possible. I think that the production is fantastic, particularly the panning. Everything is placed perfectly in this song. I think that the pacing is incredible. It doesn't overstay its welcome in the slightest with its 6-minute runtime. This is perfection. This is literal perfection. Possibly the best 60s song I have ever heard. It is easily a 10. Easily. Hands down. Contender for top 50, top 40 songs ever made. It's incredible. God, I'm so excited to get into the rest of this album. Next track, Tombstone Blues.
The reincarnation of Paul Revere's horse, but the town has no need to be nervous.
Oh my god.
His star
The guitar tone is outrageous. It shouldn't sound this good. Oh my god, this came out in 1965. Oh, wow. There is like rock music coming out today where the guitar tones aren't as expressive and as like just absolutely incredible as that. Like there is music coming out today where the freaking guitar tones aren't as good as that. That, bro.
it's not poison.
Even the writing,
For me to get sick in. The commander-in-chief answers him while
The guitar solos are
the geometry
perfect.
of inner.
Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, I am absolutely I'm being absolutely blown away by this. Yeah, the production is absolutely insane. The guitar solos work so well. The guitar tones sound perfect, especially for the 60s. Like, everything about this feels so of its time in the best way possible, and also, like, ahead of its time at the exact same time. I'm at a loss for words. That song is, like, genuinely another 10. You know, I literally just covered songs in the key of, like... I've had so many 10 out of 10 reactions on this channel already. To be fair, the OK Computer, In Rainbows, Toxicity, and the Fall Out Boy one, those are albums I've already listened to. But then I've also recently listened to Songs in the Key of Life, which is a new 10. And if this album stays at the same level of quality until the very end, we might have another Canon 10. Which I know, I'm literally just a Fantano and Brad Taste clone. I know, this is like the best thing imaginable from the 60s. It's literally the best. I'm just gonna move on. Next track, It Takes a Lot to Laugh, It Takes a Train to Cry.
Leaning on the windowsill. Well, if don't the moon look good, mama, shining through the trees down over the sea, but don't mind.
This, like, slower, like, shuffly sound reminds me a lot of, like, 50s rock and roll music. Like, but in a way that feels a lot fresher than a lot of the stuff from that period does. That feels like it's a lot more adventurous as well. Again, he's making music that is very of the time, but doing it in a way that you can tell would go on to influence how the, like, rock evolved. And especially, like, going into the late 60s and early 70s. This is blowing my mind. The harmonica solos go so hard. We had that in the Stevie Wonder video as well, where I was listening to the Songs in the Key of Life. The harmonica solos on that album went crazy, and they're going even crazier here. This is great.
I mean, the windows are filled with frost.
I'm gonna get my one nitpick about that song out of the way, and it's the pacing of that song in a couple of bits did feel a little bit off. Like that there were just like a handful of moments in there where I felt like just it did feel a little slow. But this listen, everything else I've had good to say about the previous two songs you can just copy and paste here. The shuffly sound that you saw a lot in the 50s that's present on this song is incredible. The panning on this track in particular is absolutely amazing. I think that Bob Dylan gave possibly oh my god, I can't talk. He gave possibly my favorite vocal performance on the entire album so far on that track. Legit, it's like that song. I don't think it's a 10, but it's still absolutely incredible. I'm feeling like a 9.7 on that track. You know, when the worst song on your album so far is getting a 9.7, you're doing something right. Next track we have from a Buick 6. What is that word? B-U-I-C-K.
My soul for mama, you know she keeps me here. Well, when the pipeline gets broken and I lost on the river bridge.
Damn, that bass line is incredible. That's my favorite thing about this song so far is that that bass line is fantastic.
Don't make me down, you know she bound to put a blanket on my bed.
Is that the shortest song on the album so far? It is. That is the first song beneath 4 minutes. Man, this is just one of the most consistent. The flow is incredible. Like, everything about this album so far has been, like, borderline perfection. Like, we've had two 10 out of 10 songs and a 9.7. This is one of, like, the most tightly written, most insanely well produced albums to come out of the 60s, and possibly the best. Like, I am only halfway, not even halfway through the album, and already this is like just these first 4 songs are like enough for me. That would be enough to be like one of the best of the 60s, but then we have another 5 songs to go. It's albums like this that like make me love making videos like this so much, because I get to make a video talking about music as good as this. A song is like this, it's a 9.8. It's like a really high 9, like bordering on a 10. That, like, the pacing of that track was fantastic. The instrumental was absolutely gorgeous. Bob Dylan, again, just a really sharp writer, incredible vocalist. Everything that's great about the previous songs just applies to that one. That one's like damn near perfect for me. Alright, here we go. We've reached the halfway point. Next track, A Ballad of a Thin Man. Okay, piano-led track.
You try so hard, but you don't understand. No.
Alright, give me a sec. I'm gonna get Genius up because I actually want to try and figure out the lyrics to this song. So there seems to be a super interesting story going on this track, and I want to actually like try and figure it out. Okay, so I'm not getting a very clear explanation as to what the song is. More about the mystery of who Mr. Jones is. Oh, I see. Okay. This Mr. Jones character is someone looking for answers, like asking around, like looking for answers, and then no one is telling him anything, and it's him sort of like going insane that he's not getting any straight. Okay.
You hand in your ticket and you you go watch the geek? Do you, Mr. Jones? Organization.
Like the writing is so good.
You've been. He crosses himself and then he clicks his high heels and we some milk or else go home.
Okay.
And you know something.
Okay. So I spent the majority of that song trying to like piece together what the story was. And while I didn't fully understand all of it, the little bits and pieces that I did pick up on were really, really intriguing. Bob Dylan does such a great job at storytelling on this album. I think that the writing is like some of the best, like ever. Like the writing is so sharp and so smart. And he is just able to tell these stories, even if I don't get the full picture. The bits and pieces I do pick up on are like absolutely incredible. I like that that was a slower song. I think that it works in its favor very well, especially with how dramatic and large it's trying to be, and I think it does that perfectly. And honestly, I think that that might be my favorite instrumental so far. I am just so impressed with that song. I saw like 5 minutes and 56 and I was hearing how slow the song was and I thought that it wouldn't be able to hold up in the slightest and I thought it was just going to be a drag to get through, but no, that was like one of my favorites on the album so far. I'm feeling another 10 on that track. I feel like I'm like giving out too many 10s on this channel. I have 17 albums right now that I'd consider a 10. Made videos on 5 of them, and this we might end up bringing it up to 6 with this album, because this I have a feeling that, assuming he doesn't produce any mid on the next 4 songs, I have a feeling that this album is going to get a 10. Next track we have Queen Jane Approximately.
To your sister, he explains. Come see me, Queen Jane. I've lent you.
One thing I think is really cool is that the drummer has a what's it called? I think a tambourine on his hi-hat, and he's like stepping the hi-hat on the upbeats along with the snare to give it like that jangly sound. That's so cool. Listen, I love when people do that. Like they have a little tambourine on their hi-hat, and they have like a little shaky sound to like match the snare. It's so cool. I love it. You don't see many people do that anymore. That was much bigger of a thing in like the 60s and the 70s and stuff like that. I wish people brought that back. It's such a cool sound.
Sent you all the clowns that you have commissioned. Won't you come see me?
I don't know if this is intentional or not, but with the panning and the just like general recording of this, a lot of this sounds like it's a live performance. I know it's like obviously not a live performance, but I don't know if it's intentional or not, but it sounds live. And normally I wouldn't really like that. I normally don't like a live sound, like a concert sound being on an album. But here, with the equipment that they had in the 60s and just the production style and the panning, I think it works perfectly. I think it's like
drastic.
The best sound imaginable for this. Has there been a harmonica solo on every song? All of them have been incredible.
somebody you don't have to speak to.
Again, like this, the writing is like unmatched. Like it is definitely my favorite thing about these songs is how just well written and how expressive and honest a lot of these songs are. Like it doesn't get better than this in terms of the '60s. I don't think you can. I don't think it can get better than this. Literally, like all of the same good things I have to say about the previous songs can be applied to that song. It's doing this sound consistently throughout the album, but it's doing it in the best way possible that feels so fresh and so unique and so ahead of its time. And it has incredible production to support the sound of it. It has an incredible writer and vocalist on top of it. The sound of this album is like a match made in heaven. I'm feeling another 10 on that song. Like, what can I say about this that hasn't been said by, like, literally everyone ever? I'm just so impressed. I'm so impressed. Next track, Highway 61 Revisited. Title track. I have heard this song. It's been sent in on one of my streams before.
Well, Abe said, where you want this killing done? God said, on Highway 61. Oh, Howard just pointed with his gun and said, that way down Highway 61. Then he said, yes, I think it can be easily done. Just take everything down to Highway 61.
Just the general concept of this song is so interesting. Like, this place where all of these interesting events take place. I don't know what the Highway 61 is a metaphor for, but I think just the general concept of just having this one place where a bunch of people go and a bunch of crazy coincidental events happen is wild. I'm gonna go on Genius again and see if I can figure this out. Written for the storied highway that runs from Dylan's home state of Minnesota down to New Orleans. The title also echoes Highway 51, a Curtis Jones song that Dylan covered on his first album. Okay, so Highway 61 is like this place in between states. It's sort of like a wild, lawless place where, like, the guy who says he's got a bunch of shoestrings and telephone lines, you can throw them away because it's a lawless place. It says here that they could be like a metaphor for capitalism. So he's going there to throw that away because it's like a lawless place in between states. During Lyndon Johnson's presidency, the armchair of the House Rules Committee, Virginia Democrat Howard Smith was a segregationist who sought to kill the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Okay, I see. Yeah. I was right. It is literally just this, like, random, like, lawless place where people go and a bunch of coincidental events happen all at the same time. And they're all references to other events, like, the Howard line is in reference to that political leader. The part with the shoestrings is in reference to, like, capitalism. The part where she was talking about my inflection is much too white. He's talking about Snow White. The first bit he's talking about the rewriting of the Old Testament of the Bible, where God tells Abe to kill his son, and then, like, the angel steps in and stuff. I see. So it's all in reference to, like, real events.
He will just put some bleachers out in the sun and have it on Highway 61.
Just like all the previous songs, that is just a perfect example of great storytelling, interesting concept for a song, done in the most interesting way possible with reference to like real world stuff, like capitalism and like the Bible and stuff like that. The instrumental on that song is energetic as all hell. It's infectious. It is so enjoyable. It's so well paced. 3 minutes, like the perfect length for that song. I honestly could have had like another minute and a half of that and I would have enjoyed it just as much. Man, this album's so good. This album's so good. I've had no complaints so far. Songs of 10. Oh, man. We down to the final two? We're down to the final two songs. Okay? If these next two songs, if there's no, like, mess-ups in these next two songs, this album's probably gonna end up being a 10. Next track, just like Tom Thumb's Blues.
Lost in the rain in Juarez when it's Easter time too. Put on any airs when you're down on Rue Morgue Avenue. I cannot move, my fingers are all in a knot. Since call her the goddess of gloom. She speaks good English and up on Housing Project Hill. Tilly, you better go back.
You know, he's kind of just making the same song, like, on every track. They are all stylistically the same. The instrumentals sound so similar on every single track. But the sound doesn't get boring once. It's the same effect that, like, Rage Against the Machine have, where they make literally the same song every time across 3 albums, but all of the songs are good. I'm getting, like, the same thing here, where all of these songs, they sound so similar to one another, but the sound isn't getting boring, and I think that it still has the exact same level of charm and impressive lyricism and just wild vocals that are like keeping it interesting front to back.
Now all the authorities, they just first but left looking just like a ghost. I started out on Burgundy but soon hit the harder stuff.
You know, if I had one problem with this album, it's that there's just not a whole lot for me to say. Every single song is incredible, all for the same reasons, and they all sound so similar. They all have the same things that are amazing about them. The writing is fantastic. He's telling the story of this guy who has like a bunch of like crazy stuff happen in his life. It says here on Genius that it's about his misadventures. It's like describing a bunch of crazy events. Like the instrumental still is perfect. It's flawless. There is not a single note, a single moment that I feel like doesn't fit or doesn't mesh with the tone of the rest of the album. This is just the definition of consistency. It's like the same great song being played again and again and again, and it stays the exact same level of quality every single time you hear it. Song is another 10. For the exact same reasons that most of the previous songs were 10s. Next track, Desolation Row. It's an 11-minute song.
The Beauty Riot Squad, they're restless. They need somewhere to go.
I love the more stripped back sound of this song. Just the 2 acoustic guitars and then Bob Dylan. That's all this song needs with how incredible this writing is. Man, this album is gonna be a 10. I've still got another 8 minutes of song left, but I can tell that it's not gonna mess it up in those 8 minutes. I can feel it.
And reciting the alphabet.
Huh.
You but all his sexless patients, they are trying. They all play on the penny whistle. You can hear them blow. Ready for the feast. The Phantom of the Opera. Two skinny girls, get out of here if you don't know. Check to see that nobody is escaping to Desolation Row. Not unless you mail them from Desolation Row.
Listen, I apologize. That was basically 8 minutes there of me not talking, like, at all. I was so locked into that. The storytelling was, like, incredible. I genuinely forgot I was sat here recording until I looked over to my left and looked at my OBS and saw that my camera was still rolling. Yeah, that was like front to back, possibly the best song on the album. 11 minutes of basically the same instrumental with like 2 harmonica solos. The best writing on the album, hands down. The best writing, no contest. As the best written song on the album by far. That is one of the greatest closers I've ever heard. One of the best. I am feeling a 10 on that song easily. Easily. Oh my god, that was... I'm gonna add up my scores just in case it's not a 10, but I have a very strong feeling that this album is gonna be a 10. My score on this album would be like a 9.95, but what's the point in giving an album a 9.9? This album's a 10. Yeah. I went into this thing knowing I would like it. That was better than I was expecting. Okay, listen. Does this just confirm that I'm a Brad Taste and Fantano clone? Absolutely it does. But, however, it also means I'm right. Because anyone who says this album isn't a 10 is insane. That was front to back, like the most consistent, well-written, watertight 9 songs possible. That was like some of the best storytelling on any album. It had like the same like thing I get from Rage Against the Machine, where it's basically just the same song over and over again, but it doesn't get boring. The sound doesn't like even really need to switch up because the writing is what carries. Yeah, there's not much else to say. Yeah, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you haven't yet, make sure you like and subscribe. Our goal is 1,000 subscribers by September. Listen to this if you haven't. Like, stop what you're doing. Listen to this if you haven't. If for some reason you're watching this video without having heard it. That was insane. Let me know what other albums you want me to listen to in the future down below in the comments. Join the Discord if you want. You can hang out with other people who watch the channel. You can talk to me on there. We talk about like music and movies and games and stuff over there. So check that out if you're interested. Check out my gaming channel. We're hopefully going to be starting that up again soon, playing like God of War and Spider-Man, and hopefully uploading some like edited videos as well. But until then, I will see you all whenever I next stream or upload. Goodbye.